everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new, and welcome to another charity shop book haul. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know that my absolute favourite place to shop for books is charity shops. Honestly, the vast majority of my books are from charity shops. I just think it's such a good way to look for books. If I'm looking for something in particular, I will go to a normal bookshop, or I'll order off Amazon or whatever. If I just want to sort of like browse and be surprised by maybe finding some books that I really want, shopping in charity shops is the best thing to do. It always means that you get like a little bit of a surprise, there's a little bit of excitement when you find something on the shelf that you've been wanting to read, and also it's cheap as chips. So yesterday my mum and I went on a little charity shop binge. We went to a couple of towns nearby that both had a few charity shops in them. I think we ended up going to like 6 or 7 charity shops altogether, and I did end up getting 13 books in one day, but I think the total came to about £5, maybe £6 maximum for 13 books, so I'm really not going to beat myself up about that. I did manage to get quite a few books that were on my list, books that I'm really excited about reading, as well as a couple that just sort of jumped out to me while I was browsing the shelves. As always, the majority of these are thrillers. Charity shops are the best place to get thrillers in my opinion. There's something about the types of people who read thrillers who always seem to leave their books in charity shops afterwards. I was talking to my patrons about this last night on our reading sprints, and we were saying it is probably because with thrillers, once you've read it, once you know what the twist is, there's no point in holding on to it. You're not going to reread it because you'll never get that same feeling again. So people probably do just read the book then dump it at charity shops, which works for me because I want all the thrillers I can get. So yeah, the majority of these are thrillers, but there's also a few other bits and bobs in there as well. So if you would like to see my charity shop book haul, then just keep watching. So first of all, I actually picked up a book that I am so unbelievably excited for. I have wanted this book for so long, but I've been trying not to buy books at a full price. I've been perusing the charity shops for ages hoping this one would show up, and I swear to you, it was like fate. I was looking at this charity shop and I was like, okay, if this book is there, I am going to get it. And literally a second later, I turned one of those little swivelly bookshelf things round and it was there, and that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. One of my absolute best friends here on BookTube, Leah, has been begging me to read this for so long. It is one of her favourite books of all time. We do have very similar reading tastes, so I feel like I will love this one as well. Also, it's just a bit of a classic and I cannot believe I have not read it yet. This is a very battered and bruised copy. It's kind of like a little mass market paperback as well, but honestly, I think she's cute as hell. I am happy to have her. I honestly don't actually know too much about the plot of this one, other than I think it's like a dark academia thriller type. The Times said The Secret History tells the story of a group of classic students at an elite American college who are cerebral, obsessive, and finally murderous. It is a haunting, compelling, and brilliant piece of fiction. Honestly, I cannot wait to read this. I think I'm going to have to put it on my September TBR because I've been dying to read it for so long, and I feel like this time of year, once it starts to get rainy and cold, is going to be the best time of year to read it. I feel like it's going to be such a like creepy, haunting, riveting little book, and I can't wait to read it. Next up, I picked up Luckenbooth by Jenny Fagan. You may know that one of my favourite books of the year so far is Hex by Jenny Fagan, so I've been dying to read anything more by her. So when I saw this book in the charity shop, of course I had to pick it up. This one is set in 1910 in Edinburgh, and of course I always love reading about anything to do with Edinburgh. So the back says, Jessie, the Devil's Daughter, arrives on the doorstep of an imposing tenement building and knocks on a freshly painted wooden door. She has been sent by her father to bear a child for a wealthy couple, but when things go wrong, she places a curse on the building and all who live there, and it lasts a century. Caught in the crossfire are the residents of 10 Luckenbooth Close, and they all have their own stories to tell. While the world outside is changing, inside, the curse creeps up on all 9 floors and through each door. Soon the building's longest kept secret, the truth of what happened to Jessie, will finally be heard. This one's like an eerie historical fiction slash magical realism type book, and if Hex is anything to go by, this is going to be absolutely beautifully written, and it's just going to absolutely captivate me. So excited to read that one. Next up, I got Don't You Cry by Mary Kubica. I have actually not read anything by Mary Kubica, but Hailey Hughes, who is a booktuber who always gives the best thriller recommendations, has said quite a lot about Mary Kubica in the past, and she's one of those authors that I just feel like I need to try. So when I saw this one, of course I picked it up. And this one says, a missing girl. In an apartment in downtown Chicago, Quinn Collins wakes up to discover her flatmate Esther has disappeared. Quinn searches in vain for clues, but the only thing she finds is a discarded letter addressed to My Dearest, a stranger. Alex Gallo works in a coffee shop in a tourist town on the shores of Lake Michigan. When a mysterious woman turns up, the teenager is drawn to her, but what starts as an innocent crush soon spirals into something more sinister. Are either who they seem? As Quinn wonders about her friendship with Esther and Alex falls under the stranger's spell, both must question how well you can ever really know another person and how can you be sure that they're telling the truth. Again, this one just sounds like such a creepy, get under your skin, sinister thriller, and hopefully one I will absolutely eat up. Next up, I got Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. This one I'm pretty sure is a movie with Nicole Kidman, but I have not yet seen it and I would love to read the book before I watch the film. And it was winner of Crime Thriller of the Year, whenever that year was, it doesn't say. It says, memories define us. So what have you lost yours every time you went to sleep? Your name, your identity, your past, even the people you love, all forgotten overnight. And the one person you trust may only be telling you half the story. Welcome to Christine's life. This one sounds so disturbing, like that idea that every time she wakes up she remembers nothing and there's one person there waiting to like tell her who she is and what's going on, but we're not sure if we can trust that person. Maybe that's not what's going on. Honestly, I feel like this one's going to keep me on my toes the whole way through and I'm really hoping for a good twist, like some really good reveals. I just want to be gripped and absolutely enthralled in this, so hopefully it'll live up to my expectations. Next up, I got two books by Steve Kavanagh from the Eddie Flynn series. So I got 50/50 and The Defence. I did a reading vlog sometime last year, I believe, where I read 13? I think it's called 13. I read 13 by Steve Kavanagh and that is one of the books in the Eddie Flynn series. I want to say it's like the 5th book or so in the series. I didn't actually realise it was in a series when I read it, but it was immediately one of my favourite thrillers. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was such a good, gripping, twisty read and I've been wanting to pick up more books in the series ever since. Obviously it'd probably be good to read the series in order because you'd know more about Eddie Flynn, who is a lawyer I believe, but each story is a different case, so in terms of that it's not really going to make too much of a difference. It's just that more, if there's anything going on in his personal life, you'll know more about it. But it didn't really make too big a difference when I was reading 13, so I don't know if I will read them in order, but when I saw both of these I had to pick them up because I want the whole series at some point. So 50/50 is about two sisters I believe who both accuse each other of murdering their dad. One of them is a liar and a killer, but which one? Flipped. Honestly, it just sounds so good. Like the way that 13 was written, it was so twisty, it was so like keep you on the edge of your seat, so I'm hoping 50/50 will be the same. And then The Defence says Eddie Flynn used to be a con artist, then he became a lawyer. Actually, I feel like this might be the first book in the series. Yeah, I think it's The Defence, then The Plea, then The Liar, then 13. So this must be like book 6 or something. I think The Defence is the first book and it says Eddie Flynn used to be a con artist, then he became a lawyer. Turned out the two weren't that different. He once vowed never to set foot in a courtroom again, but now he doesn't have a choice. Eddie's daughter has been kidnapped, and winning an impossible murder trial is the only way to save her. Like, I'm sorry, these just sound so vast and gripping and twisty and I cannot wait to get to both of them. Next up, I picked up The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This is actually a post-apocalyptic novel. I did read this back in high school in 5th year. I studied it for my hires, which is what we do in Scotland. I can't remember. I think it's GCSEs in England? Possibly. But I studied this for my higher English and wrote about it in my exams, did its essays on it, etc. and I absolutely loved studying it. But honestly, I can't really remember too much about it now, so when I saw it in the charity shop, I thought it'd be good to pick it up now. Read it without having to analyse it and just see how I feel about it. We basically follow a father and his young son who walk alone through burned America, heading slowly for the coast. Nothing moves in the ravaged landscape save the ash on the wind. They have nothing but a pistol to defend themselves against the men who stalk the road, the clothes they are wearing, a cart of scavenged food, and each other. If I remember rightly, this one is very, very savage, very graphic. Like, I'm pretty sure there were scenes in this that they couldn't even put in the film because they were too disturbing to film. But I remember it was also just a beautiful story about this man and his son trying to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. So yeah, I'm really excited to read it again and see how I feel all these years later. Next up, I picked up A Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This is one of those books that has been on my radar for a while. Ever since it came out, obviously, it's been hugely hyped. It's supposed to be an absolutely beautiful book. I've been meaning to pick it up for a long time, so again, when I saw it in the charity shop, I had to. This one says, this is Britain as you've never read it. This is Britain as it has never been told. From the top of the country to the bottom, across more than a century of change and growth and struggle and life, Girl, Woman, Other follows 12 very different characters on an entwined journey of discovery discovery. It is future, it is past, it is fiction, it is history. It is a novel about who we are now. It just sounds like such like a deep, beautiful novel about womanhood, living in Britain. I think there'll be some bits about race in here as well. And I just think it's going to be such a well written, sharp novel that hopefully I'm going to love just as much as everyone else seems to. Next up, I picked up Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. This is one of those books that obviously everyone has heard about. It's an absolute classic, but it's one that I've just never read. It's one of those books though that I feel like I have to read. Kind of one of those books on a list like 50 books you must read before you die, that kind of vibe. So again, I had to pick it up when I saw it. Once again, I do not really know much about this book at all. It says, this story is a rare and utterly engaging experience. It tells the extraordinary tale of a geisha, summoning up a quarter century from 1929 to the post-war years of Japan's dramatic history, and opening a window onto a half-hidden world of eroticism and enchantment, exploitation and degradation. Sayuri tells the story of her life as a geisha with such gentle courtesy and determination that you're quickly brought under the spell of her character. She takes you by the hand and leads you into a world that is both informal and intimate, a world that I'd only before glimpsed in the fleeting and beautiful images of traditional Japanese ink painting. Like I said, this is just one of those books I feel like I have to read. I have to know what it's all about. I think it's going to be a beautiful read, a very well written one again, hopefully quite gripping and like immersive, but definitely one of those books I'm going to have to be in the right mood to pick up. Next up, I picked up Finders Keepers by Sabine Durant. This one I believe one of my patrons had recommended to me. I definitely had it on my wish list, so when I saw it in the charity shop I had to pick it up. Even though I couldn't really remember what it was about, I just remember someone recommended it to me, so it just felt like I had to get it. This one says, Verity Baxter has lived quietly, carefully in Trinity Fields all her life. Then Ailsa and Tom Tilson move in next door and everything changes. Can Verity trust what she hears through the walls? And what about the Tilsons? Should they pity their eccentric neighbour and her messy house, or should they fear her? Either way, like the ivy that creeps through their shared garden fence, their lives are entwined now and the knots can only get tighter. This one is supposed to be a super twisty psychological thriller, and psychological thrillers are always my favourite, so I really do feel like this is one of those ones I am just gonna eat up. Next up, I picked up another book by Liane Moriarty, and that is Truly Madly Guilty. The last time I went to a charity shop, I think I picked up 9 Perfect Strangers by her, but someone warned me that that's not one of her best. So when I saw Truly Madly Guilty, I thought I'd better pick it up and see what this one is all about. It says, this is a story which begins with a barbecue. By the end of it, a lifelong friendship will be in tatters, a marriage on the rocks, and an innocent bystander dead. In just one evening, 6 lives will change forever. I feel like Liane Moriarty is one of those who's really good at doing thrillers with multiple characters where you're not really sure which of them you can trust, which of them are unreliable, which of them has secrets and affairs and things like that going on. Kind of like Shirley Lapina, who is like the queen of domestic thrillers. I feel like Liane Moriarty is quite similar in that respect, so I'm really excited to start reading her books. I think I might do a reading vlog with like a little taste test of her books, because obviously I've never read any of them before, so I might read this and 9 Perfect Strangers for a reading vlog at some point. So if that's something you'd like to see, then do let me know. Next up, I picked up While You Slept by RJ Parker. This is actually one that I had never heard of before, but it just sounded so interesting when I picked it up in the charity shop. This one says, when a man wearing a picture mask of her daughter Maisie's face stands tauntingly in her garden, Lily Russell does a smart thing and calls the police. When she and Maisie wake up the following morning in an exact replica of their home, held captive by that same man, the police are no longer an option. Surrounded by the rooms and things that once provided comfort and now only promote fear, Lily and Maisie must fight to survive, because when no one knows where you are your only hope. I'm sorry, but that sounds creepy as hell. Hopefully very fast paced and twisty. Like, it's one of those ones where I feel like the blurb sounds so interesting and has got so much potential, but it's also one I'm worried will not be executed that well. It just has a really good idea, so we shall see when I eventually get around to reading it, but I'm definitely excited to give it a shot. And finally, I picked up The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I have actually read this book before. I've read The Guest List and I've read The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, and I gave them both 4 out of 5 stars. So it's just The Hunting Party that I need now. But I read this book a couple of years ago now, I believe, and one of my best friends actually read it really recently, and she was texting me absolutely ranting and raving about how much she loved this book and all the twists. And as she was speaking, I realised how much I do not remember of this book at all. So I had said I definitely need to get it and read out and reread it so that I could discuss it with her properly. So when I saw it in the charity shop, again, I had to pick it up. This one takes place on like an old Irish island, and the island is used purely for weddings now, I believe. So there's this big wedding going on this island, and then there is a body that turns up. And we have two timelines, I think, when the body shows up and when people started arriving on the island. We have multiple characters, all with secrets, affairs, grudges, jealousies, all that jazz, and we slowly work out who it is that has done it. Like I said before, I love books like that where there's multiple characters, you don't know who you can trust, you don't know who trusts each other, there's secrets. I love just trying to pick out what is really going on, seeing if I get it before we get the twist at the end. And I do remember this one being super atmospheric and creepy and twisty, so I'm excited to reread it at some point and hopefully love it just as much the second time round. So that is it for my charity shop book haul. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know which of these books you're most excited about, if there's any that you would like to see reading vlogs for, which are your favourites if you've read any of them yourself. If you made it to the end of this video, pop the shopping bags emoji down below for this little charity book shopping haul, just to let me know that you made it to the end of this video and that you enjoyed your time here. As always, if you did enjoy the video, then do please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe for more bookish content from me. Comment down below with any of your thoughts and feelings. I do reply to every single comment. I love you all, and I will see you in my next one.